Exposed, bullied black woman mechanic transforms $100,000 insecurity into an incredible engine roar. Nyla felt the weight of the world on her shoulders as she walked toward her father's auto shop. The same shop where she had learned to love machines, now filled with memories of laughter and the clank of tools. Each step felt like an uphill battle, her heart pounding not just with grief but with the crushing echoes of mockery from the world beyond the greasy doors. A woman in a man's world society had little patience for that. "Nyla? You sure you can handle those transmissions?" A voice rang out from across the street, laughter trailing behind it, punctuating the doubt. Those moments turned her home into a battleground, a place where her skills faced relentless skepticism. She pushed the door open, the familiar smell of engine oil and muffler dust grounding her as realization hit this was now her legacy to uphold. Her mother, once a beacon of encouragement, sat at the rickety desk with worry etched across her face. "Honey, have you thought about maybe going back to school or something? There are sure to be easier paths." Nyla couldn't accept this alternative. Years of hard work, bending steel, and loving machines had shaped her identity. What would it mean if she walked away now? Then there it was, a life-changing competition offering $100,000. A chance not just to restore the shop but to showcase what it truly meant to be a mechanic, female or not. Excitement intertwined with anxiety in her chest. Nyla could envision herself standing there, tools in hand, proving everyone wrong. Fueled by hope, she spent days and nights prepping her submission, muscle memory guiding her as she worked tirelessly against the clock. But that determination wasn't without its shadows. Each time she heard someone question her, her confidence wavered. The competitions loomed, fears creeping in like unwanted smoke clinging to her lungs. Could she overcome the sneers from the back of the crowd? The uncertainty clawed at her, making her question her very worth among the grumbling engines. Just when a glimmer of hope began to break through, disaster struck. During the competition, her car sputtered and wheezed, a devastating failure that felt like betrayal. Whispers clouded her ears. She was never cut out for this, they sneered. Anger surged within Nyla, crashing into despair as she fought back tears. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." With every moment ticking away, she stood broken, surrounded by a community that had once doubted her. Voices that were once condescending transformed into encouragement. It was then Nyla realized this journey was not just about a prize, but a call to reclaim her narrative. Her identity, her passion, her right to be here, it all came rushing together. As the competition continued, the roar of the engines faded into the background, leaving only her heartbeat echoing against the walls of doubt. Would she let go of her insecurities? Would she find the strength to soar? The question hung heavily in the air, filled with urgency and anticipation as she prepared for the ultimate showdown, and Nyla stood ready to redefine everything. Nyla clenched her fists, feeling the cool steel of her tools grounding her in that high-stakes moment. Sweat trickled down her back, but all she could focus on was the sound of the announcer's voice booming, each word a reminder to trust her skills and instincts. The world outside the auto shop melted away, leaving only her and the challenge ahead. "Competitors, start your engines," the announcer called. With a jolt, Nyla fired up the engine of the car she had painstakingly prepped. The roar filled her with a flicker of hope. She was here, after all. The crowd's chatter faded as the familiar hum and vibration of machinery echoed in her ears. For a moment, she allowed herself to soak in the thrill of it. The air was charged with potential, a silent promise just waiting to be fulfilled. But as the gears began to spin and the first lap commenced, doubt still crept into the back of her mind. The sneers and whispers from the guests lingered like a cloud ready to rain. She'll never finish. A woman shouldn't be in this line of work. Each jibe sent a shiver down her spine. The pressure built, making her heart race, and the engine seemed to sense it too, sputtering slightly under her hand. Stay calm, she reminded herself. Breathe in, breathe out. This wasn't just about the money, it was about proving to herself that she belonged. As she navigated the course, adrenaline coursed through her veins. The familiar tang of engine oil and burnt rubber surrounded her like a second skin. With each turn, she focused on her goal. Focus on the road, Nyla. Not the crowd. Not the whispers. But towards the end of the second lap, disaster struck again. A jarring clunk reverberated through the car. Panic gripped her. Had she missed something? Her hands fumbled on the controls. The car started losing power, and her heart plummeted. The ghost of failure clawed at her throat, threatening to choke her from the inside out. She could hear the gasps from the crowd, feel their eyes on her, weighing her down. Every drone of disappointment resonated like a drumbeat in her chest. Not again, she whispered to herself, a plea for strength. Images of her father working tirelessly in this very shop, her mother's gentle encouragement, and her own hard-fought passion fueled her resolve. In a moment of clarity, Nyla took a deep breath. She remembered the countless hours spent under hoods, learning each component by heart. She wasn't just competing, she was fighting for her legacy, for her people. If she fell now, it would be like letting down everyone who had ever believed in her. She shifted gears, not just in the car but in her mindset. With renewed determination, she adjusted her approach, recalling the repair techniques she had meticulously studied. With hands steady, she recalibrated the throttle. The engine responded with a fierce growl, and suddenly, she was back in control. The car surged forward, and the crowd's whispers turned into cheers as she approached the final lap. Memories of derision turned into fuel, pushing her to reach the finish line, not just for the prize, but to claim her space to roar alongside the other great mechanics. The finish line was in sight. Nyla gritted her teeth, pouring every last ounce of strength into steering, feeling like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Would she finally prove that the doubters were wrong? As the crowd erupted around her, she crossed the line sobbing, tears of joy mixed with disbelief. She had done it. The journey wouldn't end here, it was just the beginning. And as she looked back, caught in a moment where everything changed, a single question burned in her mind: what would she do with this victory now that she had reclaimed her place? Nyla's heart raced as the echoes of the crowd subsided, yet the world remained vividly alive around her. Cheers still sang in her ears like a sweet melody, but she couldn't shake the weight of those moments before the race, the whispers of doubt still swirling like shadows in her mind. She had won, yes, but the journey ahead loomed as large as the victory she had just claimed. The trophy gleamed in her hand, heavy with meaning. It wasn't just about winning, it was a symbol of all the battles she had fought to be taken seriously. She could see the jeering faces fade, replaced by newfound respect. Still, uncertainty fluttered within her. The challenge wasn't over. What did this win really mean? Would one victory erode years of prejudice ingrained in people's minds? As she stepped off the podium, a rush of emotions washed over her. Mixed feelings tugged at her heart, swelling to a crescendo. I did it, she thought. But beneath the surface radiance, fear gripped her. What if it was short-lived? What if the moment passed, leaving her lonely at the finish line? Before she could dwell too long, a familiar face broke through the crowd, the excited smile of her mentor, Jamie. With wild hair and grease-stained overalls, Jamie beamed as if he had just crossed the line himself. He rushed over, pulling her into a tight, jovial hug. I told you. I knew you could do it, he exclaimed. Thanks. Nyla stammered, still catching her breath. You made it happen, Nyla. And now, he pointed toward the commotion behind her, time to share your victory. She turned and gasped. Reporters surrounded her, cameras flashing like fireflies. Interviews awaited, bright eyes hopeful for her story, a black woman mechanic who proved the naysayers wrong. This was the moment she had long dreamed of, yet it felt terrifying. Her throat tightened as she approached the microphones. "Tell us about your strategy," one reporter shouted, while another jumped in. "What do you think this win means for women in racing?" Nyla took a deep breath, her heart hammering. She had to be honest. "It's about believing in yourself and knowing your worth," she replied, feeling strength swell in her chest, words flowing with conviction. "Too often, women in this industry are overlooked, but we belong here as much as anyone." The crowd cheered her on, sweet validation warming her insides. She was holding them her truth out for the world. And in that spectacular moment, she envisioned other young women, gazing up at her, visualizing their own journeys as much as her own. But as the excitement swirled, Nyla felt an inkling of anxiety creep back in. Was that voice in her head right again? What would happen when the limelight faded? As if sensing her turmoil, Jamie's hand landed on her shoulder. "Hey, that victory doesn't just end here," he whispered. "This is your chance to make waves. You've inspired them, all those faces. It's not just about one win." His words ignited a fire in her heart. Potential stood before her like open roads. "You're right," she breathed, exhaling tension she didn't know she had been holding. Just then, a figure caught her eye. A small girl, maybe 8 or 9, her face bright with admiration as she clutched a toy car. Their eyes met, and an understanding passed between them. Nyla smiled, one of pure hope. But as she continued to watch the little girl, a troubling thought washed over her. Would that girl still look up to her tomorrow? When the race memories faded? The weight of responsibility settled heavily on her. Nyla turned to Jamie, determination lining her features. "I need to do more," she declared. "Like what?" he asked, brow raised with curiosity. "Get people involved, show them they can be part of this. Let's open doors, Jamie." As they exchanged ideas, her heartbeat quickened. The day had been momentous, but perhaps the real journey was just beginning. What would her next step be? And more importantly, could she really ignite change in a world that had so often shut her down? The search for answers unfolded ahead of her like an unwritten race, each choice a turn towards a new possibility. In that moment, Nyla realized, the engine of her dreams was just beginning to roar. Nyla woke up the next morning to the crisp sunlight filtering through her curtains. The trophy gleamed on her bedside table, a reminder of yesterday's triumph. But as she lay there, it felt more like a weight than a victory. A hollow victory, perhaps, if she didn't act. She swung her legs over the side of the bed, heart pounding with the urgency of the day ahead. She needed a plan, something to keep the momentum going. With determination instead of dread, she grabbed her notebook and a pencil, eager to sketch out her vision. "All right, Nyla, what's the next move?" she whispered to herself, letting her ideas tumble onto the pages. "Workshops. Community events. Let us inspire." The words flowed, each line igniting an electric spark within her. Her phone buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. It was Jamie. "Morning, champ. Ready to ride?" Nyla grinned, feeling a wave of excitement flood her. "You know it. Let us meet at the shop. I've got ideas." Minutes later, the sound of her motorcycle engine roared as she drove through the vibrant streets of the town. With the wind whipping through her hair, she felt alive, invigorated by purpose. The world felt different now, like a blank canvas. When she arrived at Jamie's garage, he was already tinkering with an old engine, grease smudging his cheek. "There she is," he called, wiping his hands on a rag. "What's brewing in that brilliant mind of yours?" Nyla rushed over, enthusiasm spilling from her. "I want to host a car-building workshop for kids. We can bring in girls and boys, show them how rewarding it is to get hands-on with cars. I want them to be empowered, just like I was." Jamie's eyes widened with delight. That's a fantastic idea. We can turn this place into a hive of creativity. Let's get the community involved. Nyla nodded, feeling her heart swell. He understood. I want parents to see us in action, to realize what they can do too. This is more than just mechanics, it's the chance to break stereotypes, to show that everyone, regardless of background, can race their dreams. Together, they brainstormed details, tossing ideas back and forth like seasoned pit crew members. They targeted schools, sent word out through social media, and reached out to local businesses for sponsorships. Before long, Nyla had transformed her vision into a lively movement. Weeks flew by as anticipation built. Posters filled with colorful designs decked the town, and the community buzzed with excitement. But the closer they got to the workshop, the more Nyla's nerves festered beneath her determined facade. What if nobody showed up? As the day approached, she couldn't shake the thought. It gnawed at her, creeping through her mind like weeds. Could she fail them? Was she really enough to lead this charge? On the morning of the workshop, she stood outside the garage, glancing down the street. A few kids loitered at the corner, unsure. Nyla felt a pang of worry in her chest. She took a steady breath and stepped forward, her voice ringing out. Hey! Are you guys here for the workshop? The kids exchanged uncertain glances but eventually stepped closer, their gazes flickering between Nyla and Jamie, who stood nearby, giving a reassuring nod. Yeah, we heard about it, one girl said, clutching a skateboard, eyes bright with curiosity. Come on in. Nyla beckoned, waving them over. But she couldn't ignore the nagging question that simmered beneath her bravado, what if this was another stage that ended in silence? As they walked inside, the small group grew. Other kids began to filter in, some with their parents, others like the girl with a skateboard intrigued but nervous. Nyla felt the crowd thicken as excitement swirled. Their eyes fixed on her. Welcome, everyone. She declared, a tremor in her voice. Today, we're going to build something incredible together. And in that moment, as they began to gather around her, Nyla felt something shift. She was no longer just a mechanic with a trophy, she was becoming a catalyst for change. But doubt still lingered at the back of her mind. Would this be enough? And could she really reach a heart? And inspire a life? As the workshop kicked off with laughter and learning, those questions buzzed, threatening to drown out what felt like hope. Nyla looked around the room, determined to chase away uncertainty. She felt the spark of potential in every young face, but soon realized would they sustain that fire long after today. The journey was just beginning, and the next turn lay eagerly ahead. Nyla stood at the front of the garage, the air electric with nervous energy. The kids gathered around her were shuffling, exchanging whispers, and casting glances at the tools lining the walls. A mixture of excitement and hesitation hung in the air, begging to spill over into something extraordinary. All right, team. We're going to dive into the basics of car mechanics. Who here knows what this is? She pointed to a gleaming toolbox, each wrench reflecting the fluorescent lights above. A boy with tousled hair shot his hand up, eyes gleaming. It's where you keep tools. Spot on. And tools help us fix things. Today, we're going to break down how a car works. Her heartbeat quickened as she felt the energy shift. They were with her, leaning in. Nyla continued, pacing around, gesturing to a car engine partially shielded by a tarp. We'll start with engines first. They're the heart of any vehicle. Just like us, they need care and the right fuel to go. Curiosity sparked in their faces. Nyla felt a knot of trepidation loosen. Maybe, just maybe, she could inspire them. Let's split into teams. This will be hands-on. Who wants to learn about engines? And who wants to know about tires and brakes? Heads bobbed eagerly as they divided into groups. Nyla watched as Jamie joined the engine group, demonstrating with a smile. The laughter from the second group floated through the garage, punctuated by the clattering of tools. But as the hours melted away, with each cheer and shout, Nyla's doubt crept back. What if they didn't absorb any of this? What if they lost interest the moment they left the garage? Why did it even matter if she inspired them today when tomorrow was another blank slate? But when she glanced over to see a girl named Mia, intently listening and jotting down notes, hope flickered inside her. Maybe she was planting seeds. Maybe those seeds would grow roots, pushing through pavement, and shattering the concrete barriers of expectation. Okay, team. Time to put what you've learned into practice. She declared, clapping her hands to gather their attention. Let us fix this old engine. Nyla could see the excitement wash over them as they gathered around. They worked in pairs, sawing, tightening bolts, and assembling parts that had long been forgotten. Laughter erupted when a kid accidentally bumped his head against the chassis, drawing concerned giggles from his friends. But then, amidst their joy, one tough moment arrived. As they worked, a group of older boys sauntered by outside. They began to shout taunts, mocking Nyla and her group. What are you losers doing? That's a junk pile. Give up already. The cheerfulness deflated momentarily, replaced by uncertainty. Nyla felt the anger rise inside her. How dare they? But then, she glanced at Mia, eyes brimming with determination, surrounded by friends. Nyla knew this was a moment to teach resilience. Hey, everyone! She called out, stepping forward boldly. You hear that? She gestured toward the boys. That's just noise. Today, we're here to make something real, something that can drown out their chatter. The kids looked up at her, uncertainty melting from their faces. Nyla swept her arm around, rallying their spirits. Let us show them that this pile of parts can roar to life. Who wants to keep building? Me, a voice shouted, and soon, there were a chorus of me too. Filling the garage. With fire back in their hearts, they returned to work, transforming metal and rubber into a team project. Laughter erupted like fireworks, as they charged forward with newfound clarity. Nyla felt a wave of relief. These kids weren't just building a car, they were building bravery, community, and a resistance to doubt both from others and within themselves. As the day wound down, and she watched them step back to admire their handiwork, Nyla felt something shift deep inside her. This was more than just mechanics, it was a legacy. But as those joyous faces surrounded her, a sudden fear crossed her mind. What would happen when they left? Would they carry this excitement with them or let the world break their spirit again? Answers eluded her, but Nyla vowed to find out. She knew she had to dig deeper into her mission. Alright, team. Are we ready for the next big event? She shouted, her eyes sparking with anticipation. And as they all exchanged excited glances, she wondered what awaited them on this journey of bravery and camaraderie, a journey that would challenge everything she had once believed possible. What if this was only the beginning? The following Saturday, Nyla stood again in the garage, heart racing as she prepared for the next challenge. The air buzzed with anticipation, the scent of oil mingling with the faint smell of gasoline lingering in the corners. She had spent the week thinking about how to deepen their experience, eager to build on the foundation they had laid together. Okay, everyone. We have something special planned today, she announced, a grin breaking across her face. We're going to take everything we've learned and put it to the test. Today, we're racing. Eyes widened, and gasps filled the room. The kids looked at one another, bursting with excitement mixed with disbelief. Racing? Jamie echoed, bouncing on his toes. But how? Nyla pulled away a second tarp to reveal a small, battered go-kart nestled under layers of dust. It was a mess, but the kids seemed to see the beauty in it. This, she added dramatically, is our project for today. Together, we're going to fix it up and race it. Teamwork, mechanics, and a little bit of magic, that's all it takes. As Nyla instructed them on what steps to take first, she felt a wave of pride wash over her. They were no longer just assembling parts, they were creating a chance to experience victory and defeat, to learn from both. "Let us get to work, team." She cheered, and the group dove into action, every kid focused, working diligently as they stripped down the go-kart for repairs. The garage echoed with the sound of tools clanging and laughter cascading like water. But just as Nyla began to lose herself in their collective spirit, those familiar taunts resurfaced from last week. The older boys were back leering with newfound confidence. "What is this? A junkyard race? You really think you can win?" They jeered, their voices dripping with mockery. The laughter from the group faltered for a moment, but then Mia stepped forward, fists clenched. "You watch. We're going to make this cart the fastest one out there." Nyla's heart surged with admiration for Mia. The defiance radiating from the kids filled the room again, as they rallied around the go-kart. "We're not just fixing a cart. We're showing them what we can do," a girl named Sarah shouted, grabbing a wrench with renewed determination. Nyla watched them work with intensity, her chest swelling with pride. This was so much more than mechanics. It was about reclaiming their power, proving worth not to those boys outside, but to themselves. As the day rolled on, they painted the frame bright, vibrant colors, making plans for stickers featuring their own designs. There was laughter and joy everywhere. The cart began to take on a new life, each brushstroke a testament to their energy. But as the sun began to set, Nyla sensed an unease lurking beneath the surface. What if they heard those boys again at the race? What if they lost? Would their spirits truly soar, or would the old shadows creep back? It was a dilemma that hung heavy in her mind, making her doubt what they had built so far. With the cart ready, she gathered everyone for a moment of reflection. "Okay, team. You've shown incredible teamwork and courage today. No matter what happens in the race, remember that it's not just about winning, it's about proving to ourselves that we can build something amazing. We're racing not just for glory, but to show everyone that we believe in what we can accomplish together." Murmurs of agreement filled the air, a warm wave of camaraderie. They were ready, but deep down, Nyla wrestled with uncertainty. Would they carry this spirit, this sense of invincibility beyond the garage, into the world? What awaited them when they pushed that go-kart to the limit, racing down the track? As the kids hoisted the go-kart into a short cheer, Nyla found herself at the crossroads of hope and fear. The unknown loomed ahead, but she knew they couldn't turn back. All they had was forward momentum. "Ready for the race?" she called out, excitement bubbling with nerves. "Yeah." They shouted in unison, their voices echoing in the twilight. Nyla smiled, though her heart felt heavy. What would this race reveal? Would it test their resilience in ways they hadn't yet fathomed? The moment of truth loomed, and Nyla felt the weight of it all. Nyla stood at the edge of the makeshift track, heart pounding. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the course. The kids crowded around the go-kart, their faces flushed with excitement and determination. "Okay, everyone, listen up," she called, raising her voice above the bustle. "Before we get started, let us take a moment to breathe. This is our moment. No matter how it turns out, just know you've poured your heart into this. We're all winners, just for being here." A wave of cheers rose around her, but Nyla could still feel the heaviness in the air, that familiar pressure of expectations mingling with the thrill of possibility. She turned to the go-kart, its colors vibrant against the asphalt. It represented every ounce of grit they put into this project. "Who is taking the first turn?" she asked, trying to keep the mood light. The kids scrambled, unsure, but Jaden stepped forward. "I want to go," he exclaimed, his enthusiasm contagious. "All right, Jaden. Let us get you all strapped in." Nyla helped him into the seat, feeling a swell of pride watching the kids. They were much more than just a group, they were a family forged through laughter and challenges. As Jaden revved the engine, Nyla caught sight of the older boys looming at the far end of the track, smirking. A knot tightened in her stomach. Their presence felt like an unwelcome reminder of what prowled outside their bubble of community and courage. Just focus on the race, Nyla, she whispered to herself, trying to shake off the doubt. With a sudden burst of speed, Jaden shot off, laughter spilling from him like sunshine. The go-kart surged forward, rattling and vibrating, but it moved. The other kids cheered, eyes shining with excitement. Nyla felt her heart lift. This was at a moment where fear gave way to joy. But as Jaden rounded the first corner, the older boys jeered loudly, taunting words slicing through the rhythm of exhilaration. Look at them. They're just making fools of themselves. One of them shouted. A wave of worry washed over Nyla. She noticed the spark in Jaden's eyes flicker but then quickly brighten again. The group was still cheering him on. They seemed to recognize that hurtful words were just a distraction, not a reality. Keep going, Jaden. You've got this. Mia yelled, and that simple affirmation gathered momentum, rolling back towards Jaden like a gentle tide. He focused ahead, managing a steady pace around the track, even as the taunts continued. One by one, the kids took their turns, laughter and shouts blending with the sounds of engines revving. Every child lit up as they took a lap, going faster, each turn a breakthrough. Nyla felt the tension in her shoulders ease bit by bit, replaced by a growing swell of belonging that filled the entire garage. They were all in this together. But as the last lap approached, a fierce wind whipped through the track. The laughter started to fade, uncertainty creeping back in. What if the race didn't end as they hoped? What if after all this, they faced failure? Nyla bit her lip, struggling to wrestle with her own doubts. Could this beautiful moment be tarnished by harsh words? The thought felt heavy, making her chest squeeze tightly. Okay, team, one last lap together. Nyla exclaimed, raising her fists in encouragement. They rallied around the go-kart once more, feeling an infectious buzz. Then, as they surged forward, something inside Jaden clicked. A glimmer of determination sparked in his eyes as he grabbed the steering wheel a bit tighter. That's when Nyla understood, it had never been about the race, not really. The real victory was here, in this moment, surrounded by their shared spirit against all odds. As the kids cheered louder, something shifted in the air, and she couldn't shake the feeling that this race was just the beginning of a much bigger journey. Nyla stood firm, her heart soaring even as uncertainty lingered. What would they discover about themselves once they crossed that finish line? Would the echoes of the boys' taunts still ring out, or would the power of their bond drown them out? Completely. The days ahead promised to challenge them in ways they hadn't even imagined. And beyond the track, their real race had just begun. The engines roared and the laughter bubbled up, but as the last lap drew to a close, Nyla felt a tug in her chest. Despite the jubilation surrounding her, a weight of anxiety settled in. What would happen when this moment came to an end? Jaden crossed the finish line, a triumphant grin splitting his face. I did it. I really did it. He shouted, his excitement infectious. Nyla rushed forward to lift him up, spinning him around in joy. He was a blur of energy, eyes sparkling. As the other kids piled around them, celebrating anew, the earlier tension faded, and Nyla soaked it all in. This was victory, yes, but it felt even bigger. It was a bubble of warmth, the foundation of a community forged through perseverance and shared dreams. But then, the shadow of the older boys returned, just as the sun dipped lower in the sky. You think that's impressive? One of them sneered, arms crossed, leaning against the fence. Watch this. With a careless flick, he turned on a nearby motorcycle, revving the engine with a deafening growl. The sheer volume made the kids flinch and silence fell. That moment felt like a cold splash of water over their shared joy. Those sounds were different. They were more powerful, more dangerous. Nyla clenched her fists, feeling a surge of protectiveness wash over her. She stepped forward, shaking off her doubts. Hey! You don't have to bully us to feel better about yourselves. The boy chuckled, a harsh sound that sliced through the air. Oh, what are you gonna do? Challenge me to a real race? The kid's eyes darted between Nyla and the bikers, uncertainty creeping back. Nyla took a deep breath, steadying her voice. No. I'm not racing you. But I'd love to show you what real teamwork looks like. The older boys exchanged glances, their amusement evident. They didn't expect any of this, least of all coming from her. Nyla gestured to the go-kart, its paint glinting in the fading daylight. We built this from scratch. Do you think you could keep up? The jeers lingered momentarily, but curiosity flickered in their eyes. You really think your little toy can take on the big dogs? One of them stepped closer, a sly grin forming. What if we make it interesting? Nyla proposed, her heartbeat thunderous. A relay race. We'll put two of our fastest against yours. But only if you're playing for pride, not just making noise. Loser helps clean our garage for a week. A hushed silence followed. Would they accept? Would they laugh? The tension in the air felt electric, and Nyla's throat tightened. She could sense the doubt in her own team, but she also saw a glimmer of hope in their eyes, a shared spark igniting a silent agreement to face whatever came next together. The leader of the group sneered but then shrugged. Sure. Why not? Let us see if you can back up those words. He motioned to his friends, and they stepped back, already conjuring up their bravado. Nyla felt the adrenaline rush through her. This was it, this was the moment. She turned to her team, heart racing. Did you all hear that? This is our chance to show what we're made of. The kids erupted in shouts of agreement, each face alight with a mix of fear and excitement. They were scared but ready, and Nyla felt a fire ignite in her chest. Let us do this! She exclaimed. Together, with bold hearts, they rallied, gathering in front of the go-kart, ready to represent all they had built. But as they prepared to race against the odds, Nyla couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was at play. What surprises lay in store as they faced not just the bikers, but the challenges of their own courage and vulnerabilities. What would it truly mean to win? Nyla glanced at her team, their faces set with determination. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the parking lot as the rivalry tension crackled in the air. Jaden bounced on his heels, ready to race. We can do this, Nyla. We're a team. Yeah. Together. Shouted Emma, who had quietly been adjusting her helmet. Just then, the bikers approached, their swagger unmistakable. The leader, with his barrel chest and crooked grin, positioned himself near the go-kart, oozing bravado. I hope you didn't just talk a big game, little lady. Nyla's throat tightened. She stood up straighter, feeling the warmth of her friend's encouragement. We've put in the work. Let's see what you've got. All right, here are the rules, the biker drawled, waving a hand dismissively. First one to circle the block and back here wins. You're going to need more than just luck with that thing. Without skipping a beat, she replied, and you'll need more than just noise from that motorcycle. The kids clustered close, whispers of excitement and nerves swirling around them. Nyla felt her heart race, but it wasn't just fear, it was a rush of something more powerful. The stakes were high, and she could feel the weight of her team's hopes riding on her shoulders. Let's split teams, she suggested, locking eyes with Jaden. Two of us, two of them. I'll race with you. Perfect. Jaden beamed, but then a worry crossed his features. What if we lose? Nyla felt a pang. If we lose, we'll still be proud of how far we've come. It's not just about winning, it's about showing them who we are. With steely resolve, Nyla positioned themselves behind the go-kart, reading the faces of her friends. She could see fear, but mostly she saw hope. They had worked too hard to let a couple of bullies tear them down. On the count of 3. Barked the biker. Nyla inhaled, focusing on the engine's smooth purr beneath her. 1-2 The world narrowed down to the roar of her heartbeat, the scent of oil and tires, and her teammate's steady breathing. 3. The moment exploded. They shot forward, wheels screeching against the asphalt, excitement bubbling over. Nyla's focus zeroed in on the track ahead, but she could feel the bikers creeping up. The wind rushed past her, the go-kart's frame quaking with every rev. "Come on, Nyla. You got this," Jaden urged, his voice barely audible over the noise. Nyla leaned forward, gripping the wheel tighter. They flew around the first corner, just a brush of her shoulder as the bikers barely cut through. But then disaster struck. The go-kart sputtered, a sudden loss of power jolting them both. Nyla's heart sank. No, no, no. She leaned forward, desperately pushing down on the gas, but it was no use. They were slowing down. The bike gang roared ahead, horns blaring like trumpets of triumph. Nyla watched, helpless, as they vanished around the corner. "We can't give up," she exclaimed, determination surging through her. "We fight until the end." She quickly glanced at Jaden. He nodded, fire in his eyes. "What do we do?" With a surge of adrenaline, Nyla remembered everything they persevered through. "Let's push it to the max, Jaden. We built this. If it's not moving, we make it move." Nyla took a deep breath as she kicked the ignition. Nothing. An empty silence followed, and dread filled the air. At that moment, a series of cheers erupted from the sidelines, kids rallying around them with an unexpected wave of support. Their friends waved banners and shouted encouragement, their voices lifting the weight off Nyla's shoulders. Hope flooded back. "Fix it. You can do it," Emma called out. Nyla turned back to the engine, seeing the problem: a loose wire. "Get me that toolbox." Her heart leapt as Jaden fumbled to retrieve it from the cart, their energy electrifying, the spirit of teamwork igniting inside her. It was more than about the race now, it was about showing their strength, no matter the outcome. But what if fixing the go-kart was only the beginning? What if the real race was against doubts far greater than the bikers? With sweat beading on her forehead, Nyla sprang into action as Jaden handed her the toolbox, heart racing. The last remnants of hope mingled with desperation in the air. She yanked at the loose wire, steadying herself against the cart, just as she had seen her father do countless times. She could almost hear the echoes of his guiding words in her mind. "Come on, come on," she muttered under her breath. She twisted the wire together, clenching her teeth as the cheering grew louder. It was like a battle cry from her teammates that poured warmth into her veins. "Plug it back in," Jaden shouted, urgency lacing his voice. With a trembling hand, Nyla reattached the wire. "Ready?" she asked, catching Jaden's eyes. "On 3. 1, 2, 3. She turned the key, and to her immense relief, the engine roared to life. The sound was like music, sweet, victorious music. A wave of exhilaration surged through her. "We're back in it," she yelled, pushing the accelerator with renewed vigor. The go-kart surged forward, and just like that, it became a blur against the asphalt. As they rounded the curve, the world melted away. Chunks of doubt and insecurity shattered like glass, replaced by the rush of freedom. Jaden shouted in sheer joy at the windswept victory. With each twist and turn, Nyla felt every ounce of their hard work ignite a fire that propelled them forward. They emerged from the corner, with the bikers still ahead but within reach. "We can do this. We will win," Nyla urged, adrenaline fueling her determination. As they closed the gap, she could visually grasp the finish line, a bright, welcoming banner fluttering in the fading sunlight. It drew her in like a beacon of hope. She urged the cart to go faster, driving relentlessly through their fears. "Don't let up." But just as victory seemed imminent, they approached the final stretch, and Nyla heard the biting mockery of the bikers trailing behind her. They were unwilling to relent easily. She squeezed the wheel tighter, focused. This wasn't just a race, it was their moment, a reassurance that they had risen above the shadows. Now! Jaden yelled, and with one last push, they shot forward, bursting past the bikers. The crowd erupted with cheers, the enthusiasm igniting throughout the crowd as their momentum carried them to the finish line. Time seemed to slow as moments of doubt fell away, replaced by sweeping feelings of triumph. In the end, they crossed that finish line, hearts racing and laughter ringing out all around them. Nyla couldn't believe it, they had done it. The roar of the crowd blended into a harmonious symphony of belonging and celebration. She felt every beat of her heart echo the bravery that had unfolded in her journey. She hopped out of the go-kart, rushing to embrace Jaden and the others, swept into a whirlwind of joy. They were cheering, hooting, and hugging, enveloped in a bubble of camaraderie that dissolved all insecurities. All the pain they had endured faded into the distance, exchanged for happiness that filled the air with laughter. But through it all, as Nyla reveled in their victory, she noticed the bikers retreating, their bravado replaced with confusion. She felt a swell of compassion, realizing this journey wasn't just about winning for herself but about inspiring change, transformation, and acceptance. Then she turned to her friends. This is only the beginning. We've shown everyone what we're capable of, but let us keep pushing. Let us keep lifting each other up. As they raised their hands in celebration, Nyla felt a spark ignite within her that hinted at a lifetime of adventures ahead. Beyond cars and engines lay the potential to forge paths where none existed before. She could sense every young heart behind her, each bright-eyed face ready to carry the torch forward. Let us build workshops, let us reach out, let us keep inspiring. Together, we can change this world. In that moment, she knew her heart would forever roar, leading the way as a symbol of hope, resilience, and community. To everyone watching, to everyone who ever felt small, Nyla wanted to shout, you can transform your life, too. So now, will you take your own leap? Join Nyla on this wild journey of empowerment, and who knows what you might achieve. Now is the time to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this electrifying ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now, because this is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.